I was born in Epsom in the south of England. My dad was a teacher and my mum was an IT trainer. When I was 1.5, my sister Hilary was born. We've always been close. At school, I lived in my own imaginary world. Me and my friend Tom used to pretend our head teacher was Hitler and we were spies in a Nazi military camp. At the age of 10, I started growing my hair. For the next few years, I was mistaken for a girl on many occasions. I was not happy. As a kid, my best friend Andy and I used to make videos together. We were always bursting with imaginative games, and we even built a homemade zipline out his bedroom window. I grew up in church and was massively inspired by Jesus' love for people and wanted to reflect this in my life. When I was 14, I flew to Malaysia and went jungle trekking with my family. Seeing different cultures changed my perspective on the world. Inspired by this trip, I decorated my bedroom as a tropical rainforest and entered it in a competition on the national BBC TV show Homefront. I won. It was a proud moment. At 16, Andy, who had just learnt to drive, borrowed his mum's car one day and we drove to Paris instead of going to school. It was the start of my love for road trips. Every week my friends and I used to sit around in Andy's bedroom dreaming about how we could change the world, inspiring and encouraging each other to achieve our dreams. This group continues to be the strongest support in my life. Around this time my little sister Darcy was born. With the age gap and all the nappies I ended up having to change, it gave me a real taste of what it'd be like being a dad. The same year I started working as a freelance graphic designer for my neighbour. They encouraged my love for digital design. Shortly after I got my first laptop and started earning from it. At 17 I made a decision to stop drinking to support a friend who was struggling with drinking at the time. I never took up drinking again. After my A-levels I got my hair dreadlocked and I went on a father-son bonding trip with my dad to Thailand. We went jungle trekking and one night we got picked up by the Thai military and held in an armoury of their military base. It was so fun. I then started my gap year volunteering as a youth worker for my church. I saw myself as a role model for younger teenagers. Also this year I went for work experience at Sky TV doing 3D animation. After a month or so I got offered a job, so I scrapped my plans for university. Around this time I met an amazing man called Rob. He had a well-paid job and comfortable life but had given away everything he owned and dedicated his life to loving people and caring for the outcasts of society. Inspired by him I moved out of my parents and into my friend's house. They had an open home for anyone to visit. It was always full of very colourful characters. One day I met a homeless guy in London called Dan. After talking for a while I spontaneously invited him to come and live with us. He slept under the stairs. We became good friends. I then chose to live in a homeless squat. It was quite extreme. There were heroin addicts and no toilets. There I met another homeless man called Nick. I invited him to come and live in the new house I was renting with friends. It was the crazy fun house I'd always dreamt of. My friend Mike taught me to DJ and we bought a loud sound system. I also ordered 5,000 plastic balls and we made a ball pit in the living room. For my 21st birthday I bought a minibus and drove around Europe with 8 of my good friends. It was an amazing trip which has led to many exciting adventures together all over the world. Also this year I retired from my job at Sky. Although it was fun, I'd had enough of an office job and realised time was more valuable than money to me. I then had no money, so ended up living in my minibus. Not having a permanent job meant I was free to travel more. I went to New Orleans in America for a month and helped with the relief work from when it was flooded. I then came back and got a job as a learning support assistant at my old school. I got asked to leave, I think for teaching the kids how to somersault in the playground. I then went to New Zealand and Australia travelling. I chose to live homeless for 3 weeks in Australia, one night waking up with a rat on my face. I then came back and worked for a charity in London. We took teenage gang members on trips out to Africa to help orphans. My next big dream was to buy a double-decker bus and have it as a kind of mobile youth club. I borrowed money from my parents and bought one on eBay, but the engine blew up. Then some nice people donated some money to help me buy a new one, which I named the Boom Bus. I moved into the bus and lived with 2 teenage friends who had been kicked out of home, Nathaniel and Alan. At this stage I was running projects on my bus. I had a mobile recording studio and I was travelling around London supporting charities to engage with local teenagers. To fund the bus projects I started running bus parties every weekend. I then moved into a house in a rough estate in London. There were drug deals on my doorstep and I often got robbed. We had an incredibly creative household. We ran monthly music events in our living room, so I brought a good video camera to film them. With this camera one evening my friends Steve and Matt filmed me eating some weird things which we then uploaded to YouTube. These silly videos were about to massively impact my future. Food for Louie was born. Later that year, some friends and I bought a school bus on eBay and travelled 9,000 miles across the USA. This was the biggest adventure yet. At the end of that year, my YouTube channel had a sudden explosion of popularity, and a guy called Sam Pepper contacted me. He introduced me to other YouTubers, and I found there was a whole community of people making a variety of videos. I'd never realised this world existed. Around this time, my parents left their jobs and moved to Brazil with my little sister for a year. I joined them for 3 months and helped with an education project at an orphanage where they were volunteering. I was now earning some money from making YouTube videos. I got flown out to a US YouTube conference called VidCon where I met even more awesome people. This was where I became great friends with Marcus, Alfie, Jack and Finn. I came back and had become very close friends with Sam. We decided to live on my bus and tour the UK. After living on the bus for 4 months, we decided to venture forth and move to Hollywood in LA. We met a cool guy called Sawyer who invited us to come and live with him. We flew out with no plans, just dreams and ambition. YouTube had become a massive part of my life, and although it started from silly eating stunts, I was excited to use the platform that this had brought to have a positive effect on people's lives. My future excites me. I hope you guys have been interested in learning a bit about my life. I'd love to tag Jack Harries and Maz to draw their lives. I hope you've enjoyed this video.